Hi YouTube, I'm Dawn, it's dusk, and today we're talking about One-Eyed Jack, an Alaskan John Doe. If you're new to this channel, today I just do a case overview. Tomorrow I post another video with the unanswered questions that I had while researching this case. Essentially, today I'm just going to go over the very basics. Tomorrow I'm going to delve in a little bit deeper simply by asking questions about the case. Typically, I like to give my Jane and John Does a very memorable name, but this John Doe already has one, One-Eyed Jack. As always, my John Doe will be sitting beside me for a majority of this video. This is to give you guys a good idea of who he was and what he looked like. So let's review the small amount of his story that we now know. On August 20th, 1979, the skeletal remains of a man in his 30s were found in North Star Borough. The nearest town to his remains was Tok, Alaska. The skeletal remains were almost complete, but his lower mandible was missing. Unfortunately, due to the state of the remains, he was unrecognizable. The mandible is the lower half of the jaw, so the bottom part of his mouth essentially was not recovered. From my understanding, and this has only been mentioned in a few sources, his bones were scattered around due to animals messing with his body after his passing. I don't know what size area they found his remains in or continued to search for remains, but I don't think that the lower jawbone was intentionally removed. It seems as though an animal probably took that away. Our John Doe was estimated to have passed away 1 year prior in 1978. He was a white male, estimated to be 6 foot tall and 185 pounds. He had long brown hair. Some sources have noted that this hair was curly, and as you can see from his sketch, he does have curly hair in that drawing as well. His eye color is unknown, but he did have one eye missing and was found with an eye patch covering that eye. The eye patch was a black leather eye patch. He was also found with other very identifiable clothing items, which we'll review now. I'll flash pictures up for you guys so you can get a sense of what these items may have looked like. These are not the exact items that he was wearing. These are just pictures that I found online that closely replicate what I've seen he was listed as wearing. The first one is a Mervyn's Mark jacket, size large. This was a very common 1970s style brown leather jacket. It's seen very frequently in that time, and it's not really something that would set him apart. It was just a very common jacket. He was also wearing green and brown plaid blue jeans. Again, this is a very common 1970s style, very in for that time. The jeans were containing 15 cents, a dime and a nickel in Canadian currency in the right front pocket, and a white and orange marble. Some sources have listed this marble as possibly something he used as a glass eye. The marble was found in the left front pocket. He was also wearing a green and white plaid CPO type shirt. A CPO type shirt, from my research, is a thick wool flannel jacket overshirt. Basically something that someone would wear over a t-shirt to stay warmer in the colder months. He also had a blue bandana, a white t-shirt, blue socks, and brown leather ankle lace boots. Again, this is very common for this era. All of these were noted to have been found near the body. Interestingly enough, although One-Eyed Jack has not been identified, his murderer has been found and convicted. Jesse Burt Bishop admitted to strangling and stabbing our John Doe and leaving him on the side of Alaska State Highway. Throughout all of my research, I could find no information on Jesse Bishop or how and why he was convicted with the murder. I suspect he was likely convicted with another violent crime and kind of entered a plea deal for information on this John Doe, where he admitted to killing that John Doe with some kind of identifiable information that would absolutely pin him to that John Doe. This is just an educated guess on what happened. I don't know exactly how he was convicted. If he just randomly owned up to it, if it was some kind of plea deal, or if they had some kind of evidence linking him directly to the John Doe. Jesse's history with this John Doe is very interesting, and it actually doesn't even begin in Alaska. His story with this John Doe begins in Idaho. He says that One-Eyed Jack was hitchhiking, and when he asked him where he was going, I've seen in different sources he either said he was going to Oregon or Utah. But when Jesse said that he was going to Alaska, One-Eyed Jack hopped in and said that he would go along. When they got to Alaska, Jesse pulled over on the Alaska State Highway, where he murdered One-Eyed Jack and left his body in a forested area beside the highway. When asked why he killed One-Eyed Jack, Jesse simply answered something to the like of, "He was getting on my nerves." With that being said, Jesse did seem to work with investigators and left investigators with a lot of information about our John Doe. Jesse said that his name was actually either John or Jack, although he couldn't remember which one, and he was 32 years old at the time of his passing. He evidently had an Oregon driver's license, but he may have had a job washing cars in either Colorado or Utah, or both. He was wearing an eye patch because he had lost his eye in a logging accident. One-Eyed Jack also mentioned being married, but Jesse noted that any of these things could potentially be false because One-Eyed Jack tended to lie and exaggerate a lot. The one thing Jesse could confirm is that he saw him smoking cigarettes, so we know that One-Eyed Jack was a smoker. Now we're just going to quickly delve in a little deeper to the area where One-Eyed Jack's body was found. I'm going to flash a map up for you guys so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. The Alaska State Highway is where Jesse pulled over and dumped the body. This is the only major highway that leads into Alaska from Canada, and it's really the only major highway in Alaska, period. It's the only one that really leads across the state. From Boise, Idaho, this would have been a 50-hour trip, 2 days and 2 hours to Fairbanks. They would have traveled through Idaho, Montana, Alberta, British Columbia, the Yukon, and Alaska. And this is if they drove straight through. For 2 hours and 2 days, for 2 days and 2 hours, they just would have been driving the entire time. There are actually an array of animals that may have messed with his body, including shrews, bears, wolves, foxes, lynx, marten, wolverines, and even otter. His lower mandible was likely taken by an animal. He was picked up in Idaho, but may have had links to Oregon, Utah, and Colorado. All of these are located in the northwestern part of the United States, and from his story, it's quite likely that he was living a nomadic lifestyle in that area in the 70s. Now I just want you guys to take one last look at our One-Eyed Jack, our Alaskan John Doe. If you have any information on this John Doe, remember seeing him, meeting him, or may know his identity, I'll leave information in the description box below of contacts that you can get a hold of. And if you'd like to delve a little deeper into One-Eyed Jack's case with me, tomorrow I will be posting a video where I ask all of the unanswered questions. All of the questions that I had run through my mind while I was researching this case that have yet to be answered. As always, thank you for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow.